Tony Hinchcliffe is here. Tony, I'm very sorry. I thought that maybe when you came in we wouldn't have to deal with this anymore. But Jim has been doing bad Johnny Carson impressions.
It's not Johnny Carson. It's his
Terrible
clever LA jokes. He doesn't like it. Sam resents that I can just adapt to wherever I am.
And by the way, they're not jokes. Sometimes it's just pointing out that the traffic's bad.
Right, yeah.
So,
it was crazy.
have you noticed that living here? That sometimes the traffic's bad?
I've noticed once in a great while that the traffic is a little bit busier than other places.
Oh, wow. Okay, so there is some truth in the... Okay. Maybe I should give your jokes a little more credit then.
Yeah, you absolutely should, because I'm fucking... How long were we walking around that parking lot yesterday for? And we realized we were just on the 405 here in L.A.
That's so stupid.
When you stretch the last beat of the thing, that's what really... the 405.
Yeah.
I'm trying to change my persona.
Yeah, you want to be more industry.
Yeah.
I get that.
Sure.
Do you think, Tony, being out here, that like if Jim starts adapting some of that into his style, that people will take him more like, oh, this is Jim Norton. He's one of the jet setters of comedy.
Yeah, I think if you do that thing, like talk about the traffic, talk about the 405 especially, I think you get that big boost to your comedy career. People, a lot of validation. People start to take you seriously in this business.
405 is a really inside joke, right? It's not just like the only road that everybody knows in California.
That's not true. I've done that joke in different fucking variations.
Like what?
One time I got lost in the parking lot and I realized I was just on the 10 here in L.A.
But what's really good
Both were hits,
is that you mention a local reference, and then you just drive it home by saying, here in L.A.
Yeah,
it's very good.
Yeah.
Those are the two worst freeways, the 405 and the 10. I mean, they're pretty much always... I never get on either one of them. I've lived here for over 10 years, and I never take those two, because anytime I do, it's just stuck.
Right.
And it's amazing that people just love it. They just keep getting on them.
Yeah,
it really is crazy. Side roads, any streets faster, pretty much, to the airport, to anywhere.
Unless you're just 4 o'clock in the morning. That's the only time you take a highway.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, your shoes are great. What are those? I probably couldn't wear them because my feet are all fucked up, but those look comfortable.
They're actually Kenneth Cole. I just found them in a mall window.
You're not wearing wrestling shoes?
Not this one. No.
Wow.
I have like a writing gig after this. So.
So you have to dress like a person?
Yeah, I can't dress like like a wrestler or like a comedian.
That's what Tony likes to like casually, like his favorite shoe to wear is an amateur wrestling shoe.
Oh God, walking around looking like a wrestler. People must think it's just another Tuesday afternoon on Hollywood Boulevard.
What does that even mean?
You're in LA.
What does that mean?
My weight class is the 405. a little bit bigger than I look.
By the way, if you tune into our Facebook page, Facebook/Jim and Sam Show, you won't be able to see Jim or myself or Tony, but the Tef Cam Live.
Oh, good. We got
doing
Travis.
Very well. Yeah, Travis is there, and I knew I was embracing the Tef Cam Live too much. Travis Teft is our producer back in New York, and he's become quite a phenomenon, and so the people just want to see what Teft is up to, what he's tefting.
Yeah.
And while I was doing the live read, he waved to me as he was bringing the music down, and I waved back as I was looking at the Facebook camera.
What a fucking dope.
Yeah, like we were really communicating.
Yeah, what a no showbiz dope. So you like writing for other people? I fucking hate it, dude.
I really don't do it anymore. This is like sort of a cool special gig that it's sort of secret, so I can't really talk about it. But it is roasty, like we're making fun of people, which is sort of my favorite thing. That's really the only reason that I even took this writing gig is because I'm also going to be on it. But in order to be on it, I had to help him produce it. So it's one of those things like final level, like I'm like beating the writing video game finally getting all the way out of it.
Yeah.
To where like I can now negotiate, well, if you want me to write for it, then I have to be on it too.
Yeah, that's good.
And so this is one of those cool gigs, and yeah, I'm really pumped about that. I've been helping people for a long time. I helped out with that Bradshaw roast that you were on.
Oh, right.
That was really funny, by the way.
They could have been a better roast, too. The crowd was not amazing, right?
Right, they weren't. It was like a weird banquet. It was more like, it felt like we were inducting Terry Bradshaw into like a Hall of Fame rather than just, making fun of how long his nutsack is or whatever.
It was very bizarre.
It's weird. I think roasts like are designed for comedy fans, but from doing from writing on the Terry Bradshaw roast or from doing all the wrestling roasts and stuff that you've done, that when you get in front of an audience that's not a comedy audience, they'll turn on you. They don't understand. They get offended. Yeah.
And you just hope that it's a rock and roll crowd, and when it is, there's nothing better.
Yeah.
But when it's tough, it's tough. Yeah.
I roasted Gene Simmons on Family Jewels in like 2007.
Was it a real roast, or did they just
Real
set it up
roast?
for their...
Oh no, it was real. It was at the Whiskey A Go Go, or one of those places.
Oh wow!
And it was so great, and the crowd was on fire. Like they knew what it was.
Yeah.
They were fucking pumped, and maybe for TV, Gene took it all.
Yeah.
That was great, but sometimes these other ones, people are like, oh, that's mean. Why is he saying that my hero fucks his 10-year-old daughter? They just they don't know how to handle it.
Was Gene cool with that? Gene Simmons?
He was. I did one that he was like, whoa. I forget what. I mean, something about fucking seeing his head slammed in a toilet. I forget it was a really mean joke. But and I did one about Paul Stanley being gay, which was just a good joke.
Yeah.
And Gene went, "It's not true." He yelled.
because he went.
I was like, "I'm just kidding, Gene."
Yeah.
But all in all, he took it great. Every time I've seen him since then, he's been fucking phenomenal.
Have you had to deal with people like roast subjects or whatever that did not like?
Well, I was just saying, Gene.
There was that.
Not you.
Oh,
Jim.
sorry,
I was
sorry.
looking right at Tony.
Who's that wrestler that stabbed the guy in the ring? New Jack.
Oh yeah.
New Jack? Is that his name?
Yes.
Well, everybody.
New Jack is like this like super thugged out wrestler. He's the last guy who hasn't figured out wrestling's fake.
Right.
So like he uses weapons and stuff, but he's been multiple times. He's had assault charges filed against him.
Literally
For stuff he's done in the ring because he stabs people. He'll cut them open way too deep, like the whole deal.
He literally shanked a guy once during a wrestling match, like real stabbing, or whatever, and it was like crazy. The guy's just bleeding out. Anyway, everybody's like, "Be careful! I don't know what New Jack's sense of humor is." And sure enough, like we did the roast of the Iron Sheik. I think it was in New York City.
I think I was there for
you
that.
were at
Wasn't
that
it
one,
at
right?
Caroline's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And New Jack was on it, and man, I was laying into him, and geez, he got up, and I was scared, man, because it's all a joke until you're literally physically being touched and like grabbed by somebody that's that strong, and maybe they're kidding, maybe they're not. I mean, you don't even know until your head's snapped. You
So
know
what
I mean?
happened?
He just ended up like really scaring me, just like just grabbing me and being like, "Is this what you wanted to do? You gonna keep making the jokes?" I'm like, "Actually, I am. I got a couple more left." I remember like I had to. Yeah, exactly. Like I just sort of didn't back down, but at the same time I did. Like physically, I was like, "No," but mentally,
We were
I'm
supposed to physically back down. You're a giant
have
wrestler.
to.
How did he take it when you said I got more?
I think he sort of got it, actually. I think had I been like, "No, I won't do it anymore," then he would have been like, "Damn right," and like probably given me one last shove. But instead, I was sort of like, "Yeah," I'm like, "Hey, I got a job to do, and you're part of it, New Jack."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that the same roast where Virgil like attacked Kurt Metzger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Virgil, that was a sad one.
Yeah, Virgil didn't like the jokes that Kurt Metzger was making about him being lonely.
Oh no.
So he went, but I think he he hit him. Didn't he do something physical? He didn't punch him in the face or anything, but he at least shoved him or did something.
It was that was a awkward one. That New York one had a lot of like cayenne pepper to it. Like it was just like the audience was angry.
Yeah, they were.
Caroline's?
Yeah.
I got invited to that and I couldn't do it for some reason. Now I really wish I was able to at the time.
Yeah, the audience got pissed because they were all like wrestling people. So when the comedians like Tony, who by the way Tony's like the biggest fan ever,
Yeah.
but they didn't know who he was.
Sure.
So like he goes up, or any of the other, or Metzger, or any of the other comedians go up and start making fun of their heroes.
Absolutely, and
They all-
attacking them and shitting on them.
They
Yeah.
all got pissed.
Exactly.
They all got pissed.
And just loud boos because it's a real pro wrestling audience. So they're treating you like you're the bad guy, and you try to own into it, and they just hate you more. You know what I mean?
Right.
I would try to heel up. I'd be like, "Whatever, New York City, you're just a bunch of idiots. I'm gonna go back to the 405." You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Where people are really crazy, which is just the average weekday in LA.
Hey.
And the weather, by the way, horrible today.
I did a really good smog joke today.
Yeah,
This morning.
You did. No, you mentioned smog this
Fucking
morning.
killed.
It wasn't a really good joke
Fucking killed.
by any stretch of the imagination.
How long have you been doing? Sorry, how long have you been doing your podcast?
3.5 years.
Kill Tony?
Yeah, every Monday live at the Comedy Store.
And you've done it consistently?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
In fact, the longest break we ever took was this past one where we just came back yesterday that you guys were on, and it was 2 weeks. It's the longest we've ever
Why'd you
gone
take
without
it? You
doing
just-
it. Australia.
Oh,
That was-
you were away.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
How was Australia for you?
Oh my God, so great.
It was, right?
Oh, so cool. So many cool comedy fans and just great shows. And that, like, you're talking about audiences. Man, do they get it. And they are loud. You know, it's like Canada, sort of, but maybe even a little bit more like on steroids. Canadians and Australia, I feel like they just have this thing where it's like, bring it. Let's go. Take me away. You know, talk about anything. Let's get into it. You know, I think
They just
like
want
it.
a show.
They like it edgy and hard and fun. And
Yeah.
they want a show and they want it hard. So, you know, that makes it fun because then you you feed off that energy a little bit.
Yeah, the last thing you need is like you get up there and you just start and they're going, ooh,
right. It happened. That happened to me once actually in Sweden. I didn't realize. I mean, they were liking it. It turns out, but I thought I was bombing because they don't verbally laugh that much. They're more of like clappers and it's very hard to explain.
Mm-hmm.
I could have sworn I was bombing, but afterwards everybody's like, "You did good. What are you talking?" I'm like, "Nuh-uh. They're not like ha 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 ha. They're just sort of yeah." But they were loving it. But they're just
polite laughers,
right? Whereas like Australia and Canada, I feel like America maybe even comes behind them as far as like you know, hard.
We just want to guffaw.
Yeah.
Why didn't you do it when you were down there? Because you could have done the podcast, or was it just the hookup, the technological?
Technologically, I got nothing, and Red Band is the producer guy.
Okay.
I couldn't bring him, so it was just all stand up.
And what is this? What is this thing between you and Ron Bennington? I wanted to ask you about that. Is there anything, or is it nothing?
It's nothing.
Okay, good.
In fact, it was brought up on Rogan, and I literally talked about it being nothing because Joe's like, "What's up with this show?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's nothing." Some people said that it was the same. It's like, they have somewhat of a version of that show, but it's
Comedy
different.
101.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just. It's the only thing that sort of annoys me is that it's an interrobang thing, or however they came together with whatever, and I know people there that know me well, that I know are fans of Kill Tony, and it just sort of bugs me that I guess, if they liked my show, I would have loved to have had a chance to have been on something as cool as SiriusXM. And instead, they're just like, let's start this new show that's...
But do you think... I mean, and I have to ask, I have
Right.
not heard Ron's show. I was actually supposed to do it tonight, but
Right.
I'm here in L.A. Because Ronnie himself...
Oh, he's going to be pissed. You went and did Kill Tony instead.
Well, no, I had only heard that there was rumblings, and I never heard you say anything about it. But Ronnie is a brilliant guy, and he's completely
I've heard
integrity.
Yeah.
He's a genius, and he's an absolute 100% integrity. There's never not an ounce of stealing in Ron Bennington.
100%.
Totally, and I'm not thinking that at all. I think that if anything, the idea for we should get comedians and goofing on comedians type of show, continuous comedy type of thing, I think there is always space to do something like that. And every single one of my buddies in New York, Big J and Ari and all my close pals there, have all immediately reported back like, hey, Ron Bennington's cool. You guys are, just to let you know, like, he would never do this. And it's like, so we're all totally cool. It's just, people on the internet, they hear it come up for a second on a podcast like Rogan's or like this one even, I'm sure this will even fire up enough, traction to get something going on Twitter. And then all of a sudden there's people going, hey, you're an idiot because Ron, you know what I mean? And it just happens quick to where it all gets out of control.
Well, they don't hear the answer. Like, because I literally had heard something, and I didn't know what the conclusion of it was.
Right.
And I'm like, I didn't think Tony would bash Ron. It didn't make sense to me.
He didn't.
So, yeah, that's why you...
But it's
you
also
asked.
not dissimilar. I mean, we were talking before we did the show about the kind of incarnations that stuff like this has happened in the past.
Car
you're
crash
talking
comedy,
about
yeah.
Car Crash Comedy that Opie and Anthony did, or the Key Room or whatever it was that you talked about. There are...
That seems frightening.
Yeah.
Tell us about the Key Room.
In Atlanta, there's an all-urban show.
Already you lost me.
Where the whole audience, big crazy crowd, takes their keys out if they don't like you. If you start to lose them for a second, they start to take their keys out and lightly jingle them.
That was humiliating.
So if you start to really
really
do
is.
bad, the whole place just has their keys, and it sounds like just a vibrating, it sounds like you're in somebody's pocket.
Have you done that or no?
I haven't. No, it's just part of, like, I think we were talking about Earthquake. I think that's part of his, like, legacy is that he was built in this, like, dark room where keys are jingling, and
I don't know
if you fail, you lose. You know what I mean?
And I don't know if anybody can really put into context, but the reason that I found it, like, because you got to think that one person is not going to like a joke, and all you need to hear is, because you'll hear the first one, and all you need to hear is one set of keys jingling, and all of a sudden you get thrown off your game.
It's like a wedding fucking when they want to kiss the bride.
Right.
One starts.
And then the minute you get thrown off your game, somebody else is going to pick up on it, and then it's just like you're fucked.
Right.
You're fucked.
And the story that I heard is, like, sometimes you'll just walk out and people will already be jingling their keys. They don't like your shirt, or they don't like the way you're walking or something like that, and you're already fighting without even saying a word.
Have you done it?
No.
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 That would be fun to do once.
Would you like that?
Sure, why not? I mean, I've
yeah.
bombed before. I mean, the worst that can happen is they jingle the keys and you leave.
Exactly.
Do you like rooms where you're battling the audience? Because the comedy is so weird because you've seen it. It's like a room like that. You have to go out. You have to battle the audience, and winning is like you're fighting them, and you only win when they start laughing with you.
Right.
Which is crazy.
How will you do it? Like, typically what I'll do is if the crowd is being loud, I'll be like, folks, they didn't pay me to come up here and police the room. And that kind of quiets them down.
That's so because they see the logic behind that.
Yeah,
That's cool.
they'll hush up.
That's cool.
I'd like to do the Keys show. That sounds like fun.
But do you like battling audiences like that?
Oh, I mean, I always love it when I get to have something outside, the playbook. Just call an audible and have fun with anything.
Just because it's something different.
A minor heckle or this or that. I love slamming. Just anything that throws me something where I can improvise and sort of show the crowd that it's a live show. You know what I mean?
The worst is when they're trying to help you.
Oh.
Like the guy who's like, and he's enjoying you, so you don't want to hit him too hard because he's having fun, but it's like, oh, fucking shut up.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a guy hate my guts and heckle because then he's throwing down the gauntlet and you can take the gloves off and fucking murder him.
Yeah.
But it's when they're having fun with you that you have to walk carefully and because then the audience will walk away from you if you're totally mean to a guy who's having fun with you.
Yeah.
It's a weird line.
Yeah.
It is. Some guy in the middle of my set last night said Happy Halloween really loud, just at one quiet part where I was like moving on or resetting from something. And you could tell that he was just waiting for the one moment where he could just get this in.
Sure.
And I just stopped everything. And I'm like, have you been saying that to everybody tonight? It just turned into a whole thing. And I really bashed him. And then I just felt like it wasn't coming across because then he went completely quiet after that. And that sort of bugged me. Like I asked him a question like after that, like, are you going like, I can't remember what the question was, but it was just something, and he wasn't answering. And I go, "Oh, you're not going to talk. No, you're not going to talk." And I just started laying into his girlfriend for really no reason, just because out of pent up anger, like you wanted to heckle, but now you don't want to answer the one question that I have.
The legit question, yeah.
Right.
Good for you.
Now I'm going to make you pay.
Right. So I'm just like, lady, I can't imagine how much your life must suck, being with this guy. I mean, really, I would make a joke about it, but I'm just talking about how low quality of a human being both you and him must be, because if that's how he is in public, you must be the scum of the earth if you're in love with this guy. You're hanging out. You go out with this guy that stands out of all these strangers in this room is a terrible person.
Because
the guy yelling at you dressed really weird. That sounds crazy, but that's typically just a Saturday in L.A. Fucking never gets old. Go ahead, Sam.
It gets
I had to
really
grab
old
the
really
moment
quick.
Because it's my new hook.
But that because you did that, it's not going to exist in the club. Like they're going to get in the car and she's going to go, I don't know why you'd let him talk to me like that. I don't know, and it's just going to inundate him.
Oh yeah.
You when I saw you headline Caroline's, it was a little while ago.
Yeah, I think it was last November or something.
Yeah, you had to throw a couple out.
Oh yeah.
You had to, but security wasn't coming. You had to talk them out of the room.
Yeah, I've done that quite a few times. It happens.
Yeah, and they got very offended that the comedian on stage, look at your shoes, look at you, like they were like really fighting back.
The only time I ever have to kick somebody out is when they have blacked out drunk, pretty much. That's the one. That's my kryptonite. Is like you really can't beat sloppy day drunk, pretty much. Like even night drunk I can handle, like it's in my zone. But I know you can tell from a mile away if they've been day drinking. You hear it in your first few minutes up there. It doesn't become a problem until 20 minutes later, but you hear the rumblings. You just freaking
can feel
hear it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that low murmur that you're like. Sometimes what I do, and this will at times work, is I'll talk quieter. Or I'll slow down. Like I did that in Philly one night. It was a crazy Halloween weekend, so they were all drunk. And I'm talking.
Crazy.
Yeah, but it was like a amped up energy in the room.
Sounds like an L.A. Halloween weekend.
No, nothing like LA.
Oh, totally different.
No,
okay.
no way, man. I can only do that joke when it means something.
Of course, it's too much integrity behind it.
And I started talking very quietly. And just doing this for just a second, because then that sound gets isolated, and then you can hear him, and then you know who's talking, but then he would stop. So sometimes that will shut them up if they realize they're being loud.
Yeah.
But other times they just amp up, and then at least you know who the fuck is talking at that
That's
point.
an interesting approach, because I always do the opposite. I always try to go louder and make them back down, but that's
Well, he wasn't talking to me. He was just at the table talking.
Right.
Sometimes when there's things going back and forth, and when you do that, then they become self-conscious and then you're also not burning material because you're talking about something kind of mundane for a second.
And it also helps, I would think, because then all of a sudden the audience is hearing them talk. So then when you do light them up, it's like, dude, we all hear you. You know what I mean?
They all hear you, yeah.
That's
Sometimes I'll say, "Hey, keep it down to adult roar." You know, that always gets the crowd on my
That's
side.
fun. Because it's fun. Because it's like we're all having a good time.
Keeps them in line.
That's good.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
did you develop your armor? Like if
Jersey.
I'm not talking to you.
All right. Well, how do I know?
Like if Earthquake, came from the key rooms, and that's why.
Yeah.
Like where did you kind
Comedy store between the hours of 12:30 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. It used to be open even later than that. Like
what happened to Brian Holtzman, by the way?
He's still there.
He
He's
is?
great.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
he's
Brian's
so
funny.
fun. We always, like, me and Rogan will make a point if he's there on a Saturday main room, like Saturday night, we'll go in after doing our spots and everything and kicking it for a bit. We'll go, and he's one of the only comics that we watch ever.
Does he go on last still?
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny. It's so funny. The material is pretty much probably what you've seen, but it never, gets old. I mean, he's just unbelievable. He's got the most fun delivery and just, and it changes. That's a guy that in between the jokes, like, really will just be in the moment and crazy. And, when people are walking out, he just owns that last spot. He's really great at it.
I love how much Rogan still enjoys comedy. Because, like, it's funny that you were saying that he does that. Because remember when we were in Vegas, we all went out to see Dice.
Oh, he's told me about this.
And
you
I
were
mean,
with those guys?
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
And I mean, he was laughing harder than anybody in the room. Rogan was. Like, he had the time of his life.
He loves it, and everything he does, he loves. I mean, Rogan's a super freakish human being. He really is. I mean, if you think about his body of work, like, Fear Factor even is such a hilarious show. If you look at what it is, that seems like a dream show for anybody. Plus, you talk about coming back, Fear Factor, that return that it made, the money that he probably made from it, getting paid to have people like, drinking bull semen or whatever.
And he doesn't have to do any of it.
Right. And he's just doing what he does in the UFC, which is basically just being reactionary. Like, oh!
Right. Just being like a super fan and an educated. Yeah.
Yeah. But he loves the UFC, sits in the front row of his favorite sport, throws on a headset. No prep, just kills it. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, like, he knows everything just from being a fan of it.
Right.
Same thing with comedy. Super fan of comedy. A fan of knocking out deer with an arrow from 400 yards away.
Yeah.
He's an amazing human, and what was my point? Oh, he just does what he loves, like, and that's a cool thing about getting to work with him, and that's what him and I do talk about. We're not talking. I don't choke out bears with my bare hands like he does. The only pretty much thing that we relate about is our love for stand up and talking about crazy stuff like hecklers and shows and all that.
But when you're around a guy like that, do you go like, okay, this is. Because a lot of people don't have that, right? They don't have that type of a person in their life, so they don't think to themselves, I could just do the things that I love to do. Like, I just spend my life doing the things that I like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's totally inspirational.
Right.
It's incredible. He's the one that told me to shoot my own special and just knock it out and worry about it later, and I did, and that was a huge game changer for me.
Yeah.
And just everything. I mean, he's just a superior sort of, and then he's like a father, and his kids love him, and it's sort of crazy because what I come from, I mean, there's just a bunch of losers around me when I was a kid in Ohio, and my dad, and I mean, but just a ton of people. Everybody's a loser. And then all of a sudden you see some guy that can do everything, and it's like, wow, that's crazy.
I should try to do stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do what you want. You can knock it out and just do what you want.
Were people telling you when you did the special, because we were talking about the special before you came in, and how it was all, done in one shot with no cuts, like Birdman. Mm-hmm. Did you, how many shows did you film?
Yeah, how many shows, how many cameras? Was it
Just
a budget
one
decision?
show, one camera. I made it myself. I hired a Steadicam guy, a director, an audio guy, the club. One show. I had one shot at it, and that was it.
Were there any moments you wish you could have done better?
Oh yeah, pretty much the whole thing. Yeah, it wasn't. It was probably wasn't even in my top 80 percentile of sets that I had. That year. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But it was also one of those things to where, and I know this sounds cheesy, but artistically, I sort of wanted it to be different, and I sort of wanted to give the people like it sounds weird, but like a real experience that's different than just ga 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 ga. Here's the way what I'm getting at is like anytime I sort of glance upon a special or see one for a second, because I don't really watch stand up on a screen anymore ever, because I get to stumble in on a Holtzman or a Joey Diaz or whatever, and it's like I'm sort of numb to it all. But anyway, I always feel like the laughs are like too long on specials when you're watching. It's a big theater. If you're watching on your couch by yourself, you're not laughing as hard as the people in the theater, right? So I always just feel like it should be tighter and whatever. So I helped that by not getting many laughs on my special. No, I mean, like, it's just one of those things where I shot it in the club, and it's just sort of raw and real. And
What club?
The Ice House.
Okay.
In Pasadena. Oh, the freeway trip. I mean,
Oh my God! What freeway do you take there?
well, actually, it's the 110 North.
Okay.
No joke about the 110
That
North?
one's allowed.
No, why would I?
It's not that
no. It's a good point. It's a good point. Why'd you decide to do one shot? I'm sure we've talked about this before.
Well, no, again, this was sort of just like I've always been a fan of Scorsese and Tarantino and those kinds of cool.
That Goodfellas scene where
Yeah.
they're walking into the Copa?
Totally,
Yeah.
and in the beginning and end of my special, I sort of pay homage to that because I start outside of the comedy club, and it walks in and follows me in and goes behind me and around, and then when I leave, it follows me back out to the same spot. And
That's all part of the one shot?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Very
Yeah,
cool.
so it starts outside, and then I end up where I started, and it ends how it started, and it really is. I mean, it's one continuous cut. At the end of it, like when they said cut, I literally go, "Did you guys get that? Was there any problem?" Like, I mean, you just don't know, because I really only did have one.
Or if they're
chance
like,
at
"Oh,
it.
we didn't know. We forgot you wanted us to follow you outside." And you're like,
Right.
the
I mean,
fuck?
just anything. A battery could have died.
Right.
Anything could have happened. And there were a couple points to where, the tilt or whatever, I don't know, Steadicam technology or whatever, the tilt went off, and they had to go in and correct it like millisecond by millisecond. It was a whole thing afterwards in editing. But, yeah, I mean, it was so amazing. And, it was one of those things to where to get to have it go to Netflix,
"Yeah."
it was insane.
What do you do now? Like, what like, because that's such a big highlight. Like,
Yeah.
how do you maintain that buzz?
Well, just by writing and keep performing and getting ready for the next one, wowing people when they see me, and having my next material be better than my old stuff, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's just trying to follow the momentum and just keep having fun.
It feels so good to do a new joke that works. Oh, it's fucking
does.
nothing
It's
better.
the greatest thing in the world.
When
I
it
mean,
starts working a new bit. Yeah.
that's the talk that Rogan and I have more than anything, is we talk about new bits, because it's literally like, it's like having a baby.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this came from something inside of me, and now it does that to people, that reaction.
Normally, it comes from something I'm wiping off my chest or face.
Do you date? Do you have any perversions?
Do I date? Do I have perversions?
Yeah, are you in a relationship?
And I just got out of one. Newly single for the first time.
How
in a
long?
really
How long
long
were you
time.
in it?
Well, I was in this past relationship for like a year, but I went straight out of one into another one, and so I've been. This is my first time being single in about 4 years.
Did
Wow.
I meet her or no?
Uh,
I don't know if I did in New York when we were at the deli.
no.
I might not. I don't remember.
No, there
Somebody
was
else. Jeff
no.
Ross came up with some. Okay.
Our
Yeah,
relationship,
that was Jeff. Yeah,
was Jeff.
Jeff was with.
Our relationship's tough for you just because you have such an intensity about like your work. Because I've gotten to know you a little bit, and you just strike me. You're very intense about.
Yeah, I mean,
What do you do for a
I'm
living?
grinding continuously, and yeah, that definitely plays a role in things not going great with relationships.
Right.
It's definitely something that I've learned, is that, if the relationship's good, then it goes bad, and if the relationship's bad and you're still in it, living my lifestyle, going to, hustling from this to a writing gig to an audition in the middle of that writing producing gig, and then right after that audition I have to go back to the writing producing gig, and then right after that I have a friend coming in town who's coming to see me tonight where I'm performing at the store, and then I have to go hang out at Roast Battle right after that at midnight, and then do it again tomorrow morning. So it's like there's literally no time. This is just a random Tuesday in LA, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But my point is like there's just nothing. There's no chance. And not to mention, I'm sort of having cool stuff happen for the first time ever, going to Australia for 2 weeks.
Right.
And just, like I did the Wilbur Theater in Boston a few weeks. They're just cooler, bigger gigs than I've ever imagined. So it just sort of takes me out of it a little bit.
And relationships are tough in that scenario because as you're like, at first you're like, okay, the relationship might have to suffer a little because you have to grind as much as you do to get to this next spot. But then once you get to that next spot, there's only more.
And you attract hotter girls. Right? That's the best part.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you realize, like, well, I can fuck all three of them, not just the one at home. It's
Yeah,
very hard to be faithful.
I can get Netflix girls now.
Very hard not to fucking at least intrigue sexually, even if you don't cheat. Just it's hard not to take advantage of it. As I like to say, the fruits of one's labor. You know what I mean? It's very difficult to not. Especially for comics who are usually low self-esteem morons.
Yeah, and didn't grow up with it, right?
Right.
So you start to indulge.
Yeah, totally. I've always had, smaller frame. I mean, I was always like sort of cool for being funny in high school, but that didn't really get me laid. You know what I mean? And now it's like, boom! All of a sudden, just somebody flipped a switch, and it's just like, there's beautiful, beautiful women, and sometimes they're not even beautiful. Sometimes it's just something sexy about a half ugly chick. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just a pig with a good attitude.
That's what it's a workhorse. That's
it really
the point.
is. Fucking, Clydesdale, very efficient. Fucking plow horse. You know what I mean? The type of girl you wouldn't want to fucking be in a photo album with, but she'll slide 3 fingers in your ass and worship your feet. That's a fucking great girl.
That is, right?
Sure.
So you have is it easier to work on the level that you're working on right now, being single? It's got to be, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because you just sink everything into it.
Yeah, then the thing with me is that I'm not like, even though all this stuff happens, it's not like I'm some soulless asshole. Like I would feel bad for this poor girl that did feel like she wanted to just, all I want to do is like hang out and get dinner or go to a movie or something, and it's like, damn, God, I can't believe I can't do that. I feel bad, and then you feel bad during the day and on your way from one place to the next, instead of thinking of that next joke or something silly or just anything to prepare for your next thing.
Right.
You're sort of just like, hey, I hope everything's okay. And it's like, you get a text back, it's not okay.
Right.
And it's like, oh, God. Then you feel bad, you know what I mean?
Then you resent them and you start getting angry. It's like, this is a job. What do you think this is?
Yep.
And
right.
Fucking
and
hobby?
Then just everything's spun out of control.
Yeah.
Because instead of working on your shit, you're like, your mind is clouded with, am I a bad person? Like, am I?
Right.
And you're like, I don't have time to be wondering that.
And that's something you don't want to be wondering right before you go on stage or have to punch up something.
Right.
Or,
I don't deserve to have people laugh at me and have a good time. I'm a piece of shit.
I can't even have the one person who supposedly I love and loves me happy. I can't even make them happy. I'm going to make a stranger happy with that wants to jingle their keys in 10 seconds. You know?
Did you end it or did she?
It was super mutual.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Was it an angry one or kind of like, hey?
Pretty angry. Pretty long, brewing, tough. We were deeply, deeply, deeply in love when we very first started. Like it was like seemed like a super perfect match. And then all of a sudden just boom, train wreck.
What was the first little chink in the armor?
Chink in the armor was I ruined it. I mean, I messed up. I went and, I cheated and that was it. And she went through my phone, found out, and that was it. Those are two things that once those two things happen, it's on.
Had she? I believe me, I've had the phone one. It's an impossible. It's like literally you're carrying around an undeniable record in your hand.
Yeah.
And it's hard to delete that stuff too because it's fun to go back and jerk off to.
But it's like even like on a psychological, even though you have now the guilt of I cheated on you.
That's so naive.
But
what a cute thought.
But you also end up with this severe resentment. Like, get the fuck out of my phone. Like, let me live my life.
And
get out of my space.
The crazy thing, and I know, and again, I know this sounds cheesy too, but when I did the cheating thing, my thought at the time, my mentality truly was, I like this girl that's the new girlfriend so much that since I just went straight from, this was in the very beginning of this relationship, and my thought process was, since I just got out of a relationship and straight into this one, I'm going to do this because I know I'm going to be with this girl for a long time. So I'm out of town. This is my one chance to do this.
Better
get
get
it out
this
of
out
my
of my-
system.
Yeah.
Right. And it was the opposite. Instead, because I did that, it ruined everything.
What'd you find? What did she find on the phone? Was it a picture or was it a text that was undeniable?
Yeah, it was just it was enough.
A back and forth.
Enough messages, yeah.
Okay.
You know, last night was great type of thing.
No, you did it more than once.
No, it was just one time. But
was she able to forgive you or no?
No, it never got better, and then it got worse because then the resentment began and all this, and then all of a sudden I got so mad that you do start messaging other people and this and that, and then all of a sudden, boom, she found that somehow, and like it was just on, you know what I mean?
It's
the
hard,
whole
man.
thing was just out of control because she was just trying to figure out what she could do or what the problem was. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but you're absolutely right. These devices, it's a whole new thing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, back in the day, you would have to, I'd imagine, find an actual love letter. You'd have to intercept it in the mail. Like, what is this letter
Right.
that this girl sent you, sir boyfriend? You know what I mean?
Find
Like,
the old shoebox full of saved
And
love
now-
letters.
and
Like,
now it's just everywhere.
Yeah.
And like there's ways to like crack it. You know what I mean? Like if your phone rings and you're in another room or whatever, you don't have to have the passcode, right? Or something like that. Somebody could just open it and then it's open and then you have it. Am I right? Like there's
You could
ways
open
to,
it, probably hang up the call real quick, and then go through the phone.
Yeah, exactly.
or if you have the iCloud thing.
Yep.
And you forget that your texts come up on your computer.
Oh, that's crazy. Or
And
the
then
iPad. Oh,
somebody's using your computer.
Yeah, that's what actually did it for me. It wasn't actually the phone. It was an iPad connected to the phone in the iCloud, and it wired it all in.
that fucking iCloud. I would literally rather fucking just jot down my information with a pencil, like copy it from my phone, than use that shit iCloud.
Yeah.
Do you not delete stuff? Oh, she saw it as it came in. Yeah,
Well, I don't even do it anymore. I won't even connect to the iCloud
No, it
anymore.
sucks.
And it sucks because my notes and now my recordings, all my sets and all my jokes and everything, I liked the iCloud for that, but it's just not worth it to me to have anything out there. You learn immediately. Like, I mean, and it's not like I'm just hooking up with all these chicks. It has nothing to do with like, you know, protecting myself from people knowing what I'm doing with girls. It's not about that. It's just about everything, man.
Yeah.
It's so weird, this thing where it's just crazy.
How many? Let me ask you, Tony. And Sam's married. If you open your phone, how many text messages down is it? Like, not who is it, but how many text messages down is it from the top where there's something that would be embarrassing?
Probably almost immediately.
Like one of the first conversations.
I can tell you. I'm literally curious.
Yeah. I'd like to. Jim, how about for you? Open up your text messages, and if you go down the list, where do you get to a conversation that you don't need everybody seeing?
Not as many as I would. I actually more. First, ex-girlfriend who's a friend of mine. Second, buddy of mine. Third, girl that I'm working on, but we haven't said anything embarrassing. So there's nothing in there I wouldn't want you to see. Fourth is Bob Eatman, which is probably the most humiliating on a career level. The fifth is my friend who we saw last night. So there's a couple of personal things in there.
Right.
But that was somebody who was like a legitimate friend, so that's not like a real bad one.
Well, you specifically had a clean night.
You last night.
And
a female friend and a director. Wow. Oh, boy. Yeah, number 7 or 8.
What about you, Tony?
My older brother makes, I couldn't, I guess I'm going to talk about it on radio, but instead, my older brother makes an N-word joke like 5 messages down.
I like that.
Straight into the text message.
Right.
And
it's one thing to mention that it happened on the radio because there's plausible deniability and stuff, but I don't think he needs that in text showing up anywhere.
Do you delete stuff? Like I hate to delete text. Are you a deleter?
No, I can't. I don't do it. Yeah, it's weird.
So much easier just to get rid of them.
Yeah. I can't do it though,
I don't delete text either.
Because then I don't. Then if it starts back up again, you don't know where it left off or anything like that. You know what I mean?
It's a weird save thing. Snapchat, I follow like very few people on Snapchat because you can't save them. But now I'm watching. I'm like, I don't need to save every interaction. I think that's why really young people like Snapchat because for them, they've always had stuff that was savable and collectible and capturable.
But you're also a collector of things, like the same way I am.
Yes.
Like I don't ever like to throw anything out.
I collect laughter. I mean, not to be too like maudlin, but I collect laughter.
Yeah, well, the collection's not going well.
I'm just saying.
Are you a collector of things? Or not really?
Not really. I mean, you mean just anything?
Like stuff, yeah. Like Jim and I both are the type of people that have
Savers.
a lot of stuff.
We hoard, but not dirty shit. Like just things I've my
In
career.
general.
Or, yeah, just
You know what I
nonsense.
do save that I can't get rid of, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it, is everything I've ever written. Like, no matter what the
Like
show
notebooks.
or anything.
me
just
too. That's great.
Stacks of papers of just scribbled notes, and you'll be going through one thing, and you're like, wow, this is from the Trump roast.
Right.
Oh, my God, this is,
I get
just
that.
craziness. Just,
This is because we all think we're Da Vinci on some level.
Of course. Right,
And then someone's
exactly.
going to find these notes someday and then do something with them. They're just worthless garbage, but I save them too.
Yeah.
Packing slips, fragile stickers from 1990 when I started, and I worked at Christoph Silver, and I would write down jokes on the fucking as I was packing silverware.
Yeah.
It's like I saved all that shit.
yeah.
We should break because Carrie Keegan's coming in, but
Okay.
Tony Hinchcliffe. And thanks for having us on Kill
It
Tony
was
last
really
night.
fun, man.
That
You're
was
a
a
good
lot of
host,
fun.
dude. It was very, very enjoyable.
You guys were great. That was so much
I
fun.
hope you didn't mind that I didn't talk that much, but it's almost like
No
when
one
there's-
minds that.
But you were great. You asked some great questions.
Yeah, there's so many funny people
Yeah.
that are all involved in that from the band to the dais or whatever you'd call it, and the comedians. A lot of them were some of them were really good. I was kind of bummed because with the episode we taped last night, a bunch of the ones that I wanted to be like that was not good. They were like, it's my first time on stage, and I was
Yeah.
like, actually really not bad for your first time on
Right.
stage.
For the first time, they were actually like really good.
Or they were nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, it's hard to be really nasty to a comedian who's nice if he's new. Like,
Right. Like
if
the
a guy
poor-
was a dick,
The
but
poor guy that did the 60-second long Holocaust joke that was
With the
59
paper
seconds
clips.
of setup. Yeah.
yeah.
All the map and everything.
Terrible.
Yeah, we made fun of other stuff on. He was make fun of because of his
Tight
outfit
shirt.
and his clothes. He really did look like David Berkowitz too. He freaked me out. Really should have been shooting a couple.
You can get Kill Tony on iTunes. Where else?
It's on YouTube, Vimeo.
Awesome.
Catch it on Ustream live streaming every Monday live from the Comedy Store, or see it live there.